Welcome to our presentation. Today's topic is an introduction to the Texas CTE Indicator Autocode project. My name is Stephen Smith and I'm a project manager here at TEA in the College, Career, and Military Preparation Division. Today I'm going to talk about the new CTE Indicator Auto Calculation Codes. Today's presentation explains why the TEA developed the auto-coded CTE indicators, what value is added when using existing certified TSDS PEIMS data and business rules instead of district self-reported data, when are auto-coded data calculated, and what are the new CTE indicator codes, descriptions, and student course completion examples of codes. Note that this is not a technical presentation of how we go from individual PEIMS data elements to calculated CTE indicator codes. Additional technical documentation accompanies this informational slide deck and will be available at the end of the presentation. After completing this presentation, you should be able to perform these tasks. Explain the added value of using a TSDS PEIMS data and rules-based approach to calculating CTE indicators. Find and explain which reference lookup files are used in calculations. Describe the different CTE indicator values and their definitions. Explain how regional programs of study impact CTE indicator values in non-approved regions. Okay, let's start with the background of the project for some context. In the following section, we'll move into code definitions with some specific examples. So you may be asking yourself, well, why did the TEA develop CTE indicator autocodes when we already had self-reported district data? One of the problems with the locally reported PEIMS CTE indicator data were that two different districts could read the business rules and code the same student differently. In addition to that problem, a district could code the same student differently from one year to the next in different grades depending on their course completion or not taking any additional CTE codes based on their interpretation of the previous business rules. Self-reported data also required many districts to dedicate a considerable amount of staff hours to apply the rules to student CTE course completion history to determine how to code them in their local student information system. One example from a medium-sized district in Central Texas was that it took two staff members 2 weeks full-time to fully identify and code all of their students, including incoming freshmen. That equated to approximately 160 staff hours for a school district of approximately 2,600 students. In 2018, Perkins was reauthorized as Perkins 5. This act requires CTE reporting to be valid and reliable and comparable across the state. The act necessitates the new participation values that provide more detail about the kind and depth of a student's CTE coursework. In addition, TEA needs to report student CTE participants by career clusters. Auto-calculating the CTE indicator solves these problems. Because we are using existing certified course completion data and apply the same business rules to all students, differences in interpretation are removed. The data are accurate, consistent with both within districts and from year to year and across districts. And the codes follow students as they move from one district to another in the state of Texas. TEA is providing technical documentation so that SIS vendors and district IT staff can replicate the calculations so that PEIMS coordinators and CTE directors can calculate and verify the quality of student enrollment and CTE indicators early on in the school year. TEA also carefully built into the definitions a level of granularity to provide credit for students attempting CTE courses. Participants and explorers have to complete but do not have to pass their courses, and to provide data to empower districts to move students from exploring as codes 5 or a participant and codes E or explorers to concentrating or completing courses that better prepare them for college certifications or careers in the civilian industry or in the military. It was also important for us to provide a solution that not only prevented adding new data elements for districts to report, but also reduced the local workload for reporting CTE indicators for students. The TEA has moved that workload from districts to the agency. The project started in early 2019 with a simple question. Can we calculate CTE indicators using existing PEIMS data? The TEA decided to explore that question in more depth in the summer of 2019 with a pilot study. A project team was formed to develop initial definitions of concentrators and completers based on what is required in Perkins 5. The team evaluated existing PEIMS data elements and drafted some business rules and outcome expectations. TEA researchers developed code, applied the business rules, and generated outcome data. The team reviewed the pilot study findings and concluded with high confidence that there were enough existing certified PEIMS data elements in combination with new logic to create the new CTE indicator values moving forward. After the pilot study, the team shifted into further defining the business rules and adding other codes, such as not CTE, what it means to be a participant, and a new code, Explorer. The team worked across multiple TEA divisions to further refine the rules and ensure that all student CTE coursework is accounted for and represented in the data. The first 3 years comprised the baseline data for initial Perkins funding. 2020 to 2021 is the first year that the data run in real time in production. The PEIMS application will provide LEA-facing reports available before and after completion of summer reporting to allow districts to see how their CTE indicator data will look before final certification of the data. This provides districts the ability to ensure their course completion records are accurate. After certification, TEA provides the output data to the agency research team and CCMP team to prepare state and federal reports. Next, we'll take a brief look at the calculated CTE indicator codes and the supporting materials that would be helpful in understanding the differences. Currently, there are 5 CTE indicator codes: not CTE, CTE participants, CTE explorers, CTE concentrators, and CTE completers. Later, we'll go into greater detail on these definitions and show some examples. Note that while the Code 5 CTE participants and Code E CTE explorers are more forgiving by design to create students that are attempting CTE courses even if they don't complete them, Code 6 and Code 7 have by design higher thresholds to be coded. This approach gives credit where early CTE participation is deserved while maintaining rigor for higher codes and rewarding deeper levels of student participation in programs of study. You may have also heard the terms CTE learners and non-CTE learners used. CTE learners are Code 6 and 7, or concentrators and completers. Non-CTE learners are codes 4, 5, and E. In an effort to help the agency and district staff understand the CTE indicator codes, TEA has developed multiple supporting materials, both for program staff and technical documents for your IT staff. We have carefully developed supporting materials that will both help calculate and understand the CTE indicators. And we're going to go into each of these in a little more depth in the upcoming slides. So the first thing we developed was a one-pager that can be printed out and used locally for understanding the codes. And these are the same definitions that are in the TSDS PEIMS TWEDS site. So this one pager is a quick reference guide for training staff on the definitions. For each program of study, there's a framework document provided by the TEA CTE team. These documents illustrate the program of study course sequences that are used in CTE indicator autocoding. Courses in the same career cluster that are not in any framework do not count in concentrator or completer calculations, but they do count towards Code 5s and Code Es. Those are participants and explorers. In addition to the frameworks, TEA developed a set of lookup tables that contain the critical data element code values required to calculate the CTE indicators. These code-based tables are necessary for developers replicating the CTE logic in their local systems. Your local CTE program teams may also find them helpful. This document will be posted with the technical documentation in the TWEDS website. And here's a quick tip. This is an Excel workbook. It has multiple tabs or sheets. When looking at a specific program of study on the master sheet that has all of the courses within a program of study, if you filter on the program title, the sheet will collapse and show you only the courses within that program of study. And this will make it a lot easier when you're talking about a specific program of study. TEA also provides a set of student scenarios. The student scenarios demonstrate student course completion patterns and the resulting CTE indicator coding. We know that some students migrate from one LEA to another during their academic career, and some move out of the state, and some of those students even return. This will help you understand how students are coded in different circumstances, including regional programs of study in unapproved regions, and when students move in or out of the state during middle and high school years. While not an exhaustive list of all possible student scenarios in Texas, the ones illustrated in this multi-page document help to answer coding questions for different student course completion scenarios. So this presentation answers most of the why, when, and what questions about the CTE indicator autocoding. A separate set of technical documents explain the how of how the CTE indicator is created. These documents cover subjects such as how we go from PEIMS data elements, lookup tables, and rules to CTE indicators for every student that completes CTE high school courses in specific course sequences for each program of study. And here's just a sample of the data elements that are used in calculating the CTE indicator. For a complete list of the elements used, see the technical documentation. Next, we're going to dive down a little deeper into the definitions and look at some examples. Keep in mind that students can attempt or complete CTE courses that count for high school credit while in the 6th through the 8th grades. While uncommon, it's possible, and some districts teach CTE courses that count for high school credit in middle school grades. TEA wanted to respect those early course completions and include any CTE courses that count for high school credit when calculating all CTE indicators. Therefore, the auto-coding calculations look back at a student's course completion records starting with their 6th through their current grade. Each year, the CTE indicators are calculated. As students continue to complete CTE courses that count for high school credit, their indicators will progress up to different codes. Once a student has attained a code, their records will reflect that or higher codes attained throughout their middle and high school grades. Okay, we're going to start off with the simplest CTE indicator code, and that's code 4, or not CTE. If a student never attempted a high school level CTE course, or if they never completed a CTE course that counts for high school credit, they are a code 4. CTE courses that count for high school credit include chapters 126C. You know these as the Tech Apps courses. 127B, these are the high school career development courses. And chapter 130, these are the high school courses in each career cluster. Here's an example of a code 4. Ben is a student who focused on football instead of attempting or taking CTE courses. Ben never attempted or completed any high school level CTE courses and therefore is a code 4 throughout both middle school and high school. Each year when CTE indicator code is calculated, Ben is coded a code 4. The next code is a code 5 or a CTE participant. Code 5 is any student completing one or more courses for less than 2 credits. Technically, a student could take 3 individual half-credit courses and still be a participant. Note that students do not have to complete and pass the course to be coded a code 5. The logic here is that if the student is attempting and completing a course, even if they don't pass the course, both the student and the district will receive credit for participating in CTE. Here's a code 5 example. Susan is a student who focused on the swim team and only attempted and completed one CTE course in the 9th grade. Because Susan only completed one high school level CTE course, she is a code 5 at the end of the 9th grade and remains a code 5 through completing the 12th grade. Okay, now we're going to get into code E, or explorers. An explorer is any student completing 2 or more credits, defined by chapters 126C, 127B, or 130, and is also not a participant, a concentrator, or a completer. And again, the student does not have to pass or receive credit. Note that these students are not completing courses in the same program of study, because if they were and they passed and received credit, they would be a concentrator or a completer. The most typical code E's are when a student is sampling courses across multiple programs of study. As you can see in this example, Stanley is completing courses across multiple programs of study and multiple career clusters. Because he is not focusing in one area, he is exploring CTE, hence the code title. While he completed his first CTE course in the 10th grade and was a code 5 participant that year, the next year he completes an advertising course in a different program of study and is a code E at the end of the 11th grade. His senior year, he completes yet another CTE course outside of the 2 previous courses programs of study and remains a code E, or an explorer. If Stanley had completed 2 or more courses for at least 2 credits in a single program of study, he would be a code 6 concentrator. Now we're going to talk about code 6 concentrators. And these are students that complete, pass, and receive credit in 2 or more high school level CTE courses for at least 2 credits within the same program of study, and are also not a completer in the same program of study. This is different from the previous example where Stanley was not focused on a single program of study. Here you can see Shuri was focused on courses in engineering. She completed 3 courses in the engineering program of study, earning a code 6 concentrator value. Because she has not completed 3 or more courses for 4 or more credits within the same program of study, she is not a code 7 completer. The fact that she completed a national security course in a different program of study did not impact her engineering program of study concentrator status. It's just an extra course. Keep in mind that courses taken outside of a program of study, such as math or science courses, do not adversely affect students' CTE indicator codes. Districts should not discourage students from taking advanced CTE courses for academic credit. And our final code is a code 7, or a CTE completer. CTE completers have the highest and most rigorous threshold to achieve, which means they are focused and well prepared for leaving high school for post-secondary college work, certification, or careers. Students have to complete, pass, and receive credit in 3 or more specific courses for 4 or more credits, and one of those courses must be a higher level 3 or level 4 course. All of the courses have to be within the same program of study. In this scenario, James wants to be a pilot in the U.S. Marine Corps, so he planned ahead and focused on his CTE education in the Aviation Flight Regional Program of Study. Because his ESC region is approved for the regional program of study, James was able to be coded a Code 7 completer. James completed 2 Level 3 courses. He completed enough program of study courses and credits, including a Level 3 or Level 4 course, and is coded a 7 completer in the 12th grade. Now we're going to talk about instances where students are completing courses in regions where a regional program of study is not approved by the TEA. Just to recap, districts can apply for regional programs of study if they meet certain criteria. TEA provides a regional specialization program of study process for regions that have labor market demands for specific skills that are not needed statewide. 2 examples are maritime and aviation or flight for pilots. In these 2 instances, there is high regional demand, but not enough demand statewide for a statewide program of study. Select regions applied for and were approved to offer these programs of study for credit. Students completing sequences of courses in a regional program of study that is not approved can still take and complete those courses. Just keep in mind that any Code 6 concentrator or completer level accomplishments are coded a Code E Explorer if the student is in a non-approved region for that program of study. Now let's take a closer look. Students may take and complete CTE courses anywhere in Texas. If the region is not approved for the regional program of study, once students complete enough courses to be coded a Code 6 or Code 7, the code reverts to a Code E Explorer at the end of each year when the codes are calculated. The regional Code E processing rule gives credit to students and the district acknowledging the work. If the student later moves to a region where the regional program of study is approved, at the end of the school year, the code will be either a Code 6 or a Code 7, depending on how many courses, credits, and specific course levels are completed. Let's dig a little deeper into these 2 regional scenarios. We're going to talk about Arthur and Diana. In one of these examples, we also show how coding works if a student moves out of an approved regional program of study, ESC region, and moves back again. So let's take a look at Arthur. In Arthur's scenario, he stays enrolled and completing courses in the Maritime Regional Program of Study, even though his region is not approved to offer that program. While Arthur passed and completed enough courses to be a Code 7, if he was in an approved region, because he's in an unapproved region, his Code 7 is reverted to a Code E Explorer. Now let's look at Diana. In Diana's scenario, she starts an aviation flight regional program of study in an approved region. At the end of the 8th grade, Diana is coded a Code 6 concentrator. After completing the 8th grade and being a Code 6 in the regional program of study, Diana moves to an unapproved region for that program of study. So that means in the region that she moved to, the ESC geographic region, they're not approved for the regional program of study. She continues, though, to take aviation flight program of study courses in the unapproved region from the 9th grade through the end of the 10th grade. When she moves to an unapproved region at the end of her 9th and 10th grades, Diana's Code 6 concentrator is converted to a Code E Explorer. This is because she is completing courses in an unapproved region for the regional program of study. After completing the 10th grade, Diana moves back to the first region where the aviation flight regional program of study is still approved for that geographic region. In the 11th and 12th grades, Diana completes enough courses in the regional program of study course sequence in an approved region and is coded a code 7 or a completer. This example shows both what CTE indicator coding looks like in an unapproved region and what happens to existing CTE indicator codes when completing courses in an unapproved region and when a student moves back to an approved region. In the technical documentation, we plan to include a list of some very basic validation rules that must be true per the logic or per the instructions. One example is that a student cannot be coded a code 4 or a code 5 and at the same time a code E, 6, or 7 within the same year. They are mutually exclusive. A student can also not be coded a code 6 or 7 in the same program of study in the same year. See the technical documentation for more information. So that's all we have for today. Thank you for watching this informational session. On this slide, there are links to the program and technical documentation. So on the CTE program information on the TEA website, we have the approved statewide and regional programs of study, and we are posting frequently asked questions that should answer most of the questions not covered in this presentation. On the TWEDS site, we are going to have the field version of autocode requirements or the specifications for calculating autocodes, the lookup reference tables that provide all the different data elements and the crosswalk table for understanding course completion patterns and autocoding. We have the student scenarios document posted and the one-pager definitions document. And so the links in this PowerPoint presentation that are going to be posted on the TEA website will connect you to those two websites. And for more information, contact the statewide CTE coordinators in the CCMP division here at TEA. And here we provide the phone number and the email address. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for your attention.